task is to start assembling the literature for a review to go in my report, assignment 2, foundation year project. So what am I going to do? I've called up Google Scholar, and it is different than Google. It is Google Scholar, and what am I going to put in? Oh well, see, I've already been here before, hands and length. So I'm going to use the example of hand length and height, and I've pulled up lots of articles. So I'm going into these articles one at a time. That looks interesting. I am noting it down. I'm getting a few important bits of information out of it. Okay? So how does that work? So the first thing that I do is I go to those things. I copy the Harvard version. So I'm copying it, and I'll bring up a spreadsheet. Okay, let's just make that big enough. It's a Word document. I've just pasted the reference in, and that's the first one. And then I've gone through and I've just simply noted a few things down, like the sample size is 19 to 91 years. I've copied in the regression equation and basically why it's important. And just a few notes. Okay, so I'll then go back and I will take the next one. So again, I'll copy the reference in first. So copy the reference in, and I'm going to paste it in. There it is. All right. Now, got in. I'm now going to look at the article. Okay. And it's interesting. So the first thing to say, this is the article. I've gone and looked at the abstract. Yeah, 600, 300, and 300. The results show differences between the genders and a correlation between height and hand length. But the bit that I found really important and I thought was quite interesting was this bit, okay, which was telling me why actually understanding it was important. Okay, so I actually copied that out and I put that into my notes, and I have just pasted it in. Now, I cannot use these references and because I haven't read them. But so what I might do is I would move this aside and let's have Jessamine and Gledhill. That looks like an interesting paper. So how would I go and find that? So we're going to look for that reference. So go to the reference list. What was it? Jessamine and Gledhill. What's interesting? Predicting height from limb measurements. Okay, that looks interesting. So what I would try and do is copy a little bit out like that. Copy it out. I would then call myself up another Google Scholar document, paste it in, see, okay, it's found the article, but I can't access it, so that's not very good. Let's just see whether I can find it. What happens if I do that? No, I'm really struggling to find it. No, I've got lots of other. Okay, so I'm not finding that particular reference. So let's go back in. So I can't really use that one. And because I haven't found it, okay, I haven't read it or found it, I'd go back and make sure that I just take that away from my notes. Okay, I read it. Okay, Gold 2004 and this one, should I? Looks interesting. So let's have a look at those. So it's Gold. So where are we? There we go. Go down. Back to here. Have a look. Okay. So Gold. Gold. There it is. Nutritional status. Okay. So that's interesting. Stature from hand length. Okay. And It's actually from hand, criminalistics, but this is the one that I'm interested in because it's saying that basically it's a survey. So let's have a look at that one. Let's have a new one, paste it in. Let's see, and I still can't find it. So I'm struggling to find that reference. And what was the other one that came up in that section? Okay. Right, where was it? And it was also suggesting that I have a look at this one. I'm a Shabani. Apologies if I have mispronounced that. Not sure whether I'll have that one, but it's an interesting one. The natural history of the growth of the hand, surface area, and the history of the hand, treatment guide for trauma patients. That looks interesting. Let's see if I can get that. Right, I don't know whether I can get it. Let's have a look. I don't know whether I can read it, but it's telling me about the study. File 800 volunteers, 2 to 89. Hand length is simply measurement used as a treatment guide. Hand length will predict body weight. So actually, this I've had a look at, and therefore, so I go back to my notes, and I know that I have been able to follow up on this, and I'm actually going to put an additional note in there, helpful as a treatment aid. So I'm adding a bit more notes, okay? And then I want that reference, that Amishalawi reference. I'm really mispronouncing it, but I'm doing my best. Is that it? There it is. So we go back, and there we go. Copy the reference, copy, and then I'm going to put that in my notes here. Okay, now then. And I keep on going to work out whether anything else in there I can actually see. So I haven't looked at those ones, but I have found that one. So again, I'm going to just highlight that in yellow because it's a reference. So I'm back to my my main study now. There we go, hand length, that's that paper. So let's go to the next one. All right, and I found this one. Okay, that's my third paper. And the thing that you see here is 300, 300, same value. It's actually identical data to the previous study. I've captured the reference, but it's not telling me anything new. But I have put it in my notes for what I've done at the same study as the above paper, so that one. Okay. And then off I go again. Another paper, I'll get it out to ResearchGate. There's the study. So 220 individuals, 18 to 25. Weak correlation 0.25, but it's significant. So I get that data out, and again, there I have, and I've just put it into my notes like that. Okay, and that's how I carry on building up a body of notes to help create this this study. Okay, building it up, moving it around, etc. Right, so where do we go from there? Well, we go back, keep on building up, snowballing, correlation of height width, predicting the height basis of, okay, correlation of height and hand size. Okay, that looks relevant. So I click on that one, go and look for it. Oh, it's downloading it. Original article, the average male height was have a quick look. Oh, what's it telling me? Is it telling me anything? There is positive correlation. development, blah, blah, blah. So that's what I'm trying to build up. Is it telling me why it's important? The golden rule. So I could work in the golden rule. That's interesting. From golden ratios. All right. So I could work that in. It's another paper that I could use. It was this one, isn't it? So basically, I've read it, so I can use it. Let's just copy all of that in there. Copy. I might mention something in here. Paste it in. I might make a golden rule and so forth. Okay. So in that way, I'm building up papers that I have read and that I have studied and that I have looked at. Hand stature. This is another one. Sexual in hands, foot length. Okay, that looks interesting. And again, picking out the details, establish sexual dimorphism, forensics. They're applying it in forensics. A quick look through the paper. Okay. Any key conclusion results? 3 these studies indicate that hand length is known, foot length can be predicted. So that's interesting. Okay, so that's quite an interesting study. So let's have that one. Copy it in. And then what am I going to put? Type it in, but I'm going to say these folks predict hand length from foot and vice versa. Okay. All right. So slowly and over time, I'm building up a body of work that will help me work this out. And you might say, well, how many references do I need? Well, there's an awful lot of data like this, particularly if we were to look at foot length. But, you want a good body of data. And I meant study medical students, and we could go on for the next page, and we'll keep on. Okay, and we begin to hand length. Okay, we begin to move off the subject. But I'm going to get half a dozen or so. So I'm going to pause it for a second. So how do we go on? So I've gone through, I've gathered my data together. What does it all mean? What could I do with it? Well, I could do lots of things. I could do a meta-analysis. So that'd be the first thing that I could try. So a meta-analysis. So let's insert a table. And I don't know how many cells I'm going to need, but basically let's say this one. Who's the reference? So it's Guerrieri, Guerrieri et al. What's the date on that? 2014. Hand versus height. That's basically what they did. So I could put a cross in there, for example. Let's put a star in there because they did that. I could write down simple sample size. What did they use? 465. And basically, yeah. And they did a regression line and so forth. And then I could go into the next one. I can't pronounce that name, so I'm going to just copy it in. It's Al. What's the date of that reference? 2014, 2013, and they did the same, and so on. I'm building up. They had 600, I think. Okay, so I'm building up data from each of these papers. So that's something that I could do. That's a meta-analysis. I'm only using things that I've actually read, and that might work. how else could I work it? So let's try and write something now. So how would we write this? So okay, a number of researchers have attempted to study hand length and stature. These include Guerra. Okay, and what's their name? 2014 is what it is. The 2014. Who used a sample of 465 a sample set to create a regression equation statistically significant statistics significant that included age, gender, as well as hand length in predicting subject type. Okay. Let's just correct that statistically. Right, so that's the first reference is in. Okay, so I've used that. I can now take that part of my notes away, and then I could say similarly, Begaboo et al. 2013 looked at 600 males and females from Nigerian schools and found a significant difference and a correlation between height and length. Significantly, they suggested that there were strong medical reasons why predicting stature from hand length might be important. And who's the other guy down here? The person. That's it. We want that one, that name. Okay. I'm just copying it, bring it in, paste it in. Amber Shirley et al. What was the date of that? 2000. What did they say? Emphasize the importance of this approach in specific clinical contexts. For example, with the patient with bedbound. Clinical. Estimating drug doses depends on BMI is a component. Okay, so that's what I'm going in. So I've got that in there. So okay, 2015. So they said the same thing. So, but I can still use that reference. But significant, yeah. Comma 2015. So I've brought in both of those references, even though it's the same. So I've used that one. just copy that. Schenker et al. What was it? 2017 also found a correlation between hand length and height, although this was weak. So I've used that one. I don't know about the golden rule, so I'm not going to use that one because I need to do a bit more reading about that, but I am using this one. Okay. This person, copy, what is it? Oh no. It's 2008, so just I'm copying that in. So where am I doing? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so let's, we have to get rid of the initials. And elbow. Emphasized down there, examined hand length and height, and stressed its importance in a forensic context. Okay, so that's it. So basically, those are all the references that I've used so far in building my narrative. Okay, so I'm just tidying that up. Let's get rid of my. Okay, we'll just add that to the note. Forensic context. They also stressed. They also stress how hand length could be used to predict foot length, and vice versa. Okay, right. So we're with that. Now then, these are the references that I've got at the end. Let's just tidy that up. Right. So let's highlight them. And where will I'm going to find sort? Okay. Text ascending. Okay. They're now in alphabetical order. That's something odd going on there. So take them all away. Right click, use that one, takes the formatting away. That's looking good. So I've got the start of my reference list. Okay, and that's it. So I've got the beginnings. I'm probably not going to use my table, so I'll take that away. So it's telling me I need a comma. So that's it. That's how I've built up the story. Now it's not great bit of writing. Let's try and get it all the same font size and so forth and tidy it up. Let's write justifier, and it's a start. Okay, I've started to tidy up and write about the literature. I've also got my references coming in this sort of way. I keep on building up from my notes. Now, at no point did I ever copy the text from my notes in here. It's all my own words. I did copy the names to make sure I spelt them correctly and so forth. And that's how to build up a literature review. Now, how would we build up the literature and then link it to our own studies? So I might want to say something as this brief review of the scientific literature shows, as this brief review of the scientific literature shows, there are a wide number of studies that examine hand length and stature. each study gives a slightly different regression relationship, which is dependent on the nature of the sample in terms of age, gender, and race. Let's have ethnicity. In this context, I have chosen to examine this using the data collected in 2014, 2024 by the foundation year students. Okay. All right. Now, I have a comma in there. Okay, and I have built up a rationale there that examine this. I've chosen to examine this using the data collected in 20 by the foundation year students, and that's how I'm building up a professional review. Okay, and I'm constantly editing and revising it. I've only used the first person once here just to say I have chosen, not bothered saying why I'm interested or whatever. I have chosen. This I could say this type of study has applications across forensic medical science. Okay, and that's it. That would be the beginning of it. Now I do a lot more to build this up, but that's the